Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello.
Hi there, Kristin.
All right, welcome. Yes, so good to see you. Okay, if this is your first time showing up to a masterclass, welcome. I'm so excited. Put yourselves on mute and tell us in the chat where you're calling in from. Let us know if this is your first or your 50th masterclass of mine. I know I've got people who always come back. You guys are in for a treat. If this is your first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'm actually doing something a little different. So like Mariana, she's not connected to audio yet. Hello, Steve. I'm doing something a little different this time. So you'll have to let me know if this is better or the other version is better. So that's a cliffhanger. But yes, tell us in the chat where you're calling in from, like my friend Satu in France. Thank you. Thank you. You guys, there's about 40 people registered for today. So, like I sent an email, tried to remind everybody. So we'll give everybody a few minutes and then we will snap a picture. And then what I'm doing today is this is crazy. I made a deck. So normally I do a bunch of worksheets and we kind of go through it. But today I've got a deck for you guys and I'm going to share my screen. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Okay, put in the chat where you're calling in from. Put in the chat your LinkedIn URL so that everybody can connect with you here. Kara, my friend, so good to see you. Everybody else, thank you. Welcome, welcome. Okay, first time, put in the chat where you're calling in from. Joyce, thank you so much. Brazil, I'm so happy to see you. Thank you, thank you. And put your LinkedIn URL so everybody can connect. We'll give this a few minutes so that the 40 people who said they were going to be here can show up. And like I said, Steve, what do you think? We're doing a deck today. Isn't that crazy? Woo! All right, no worksheets. I didn't do worksheets today. I just did a deck, but I've got lots of content. And then when I send the replay out, I will send the deck. So you'll have it. You'll have all my notes. And then actually, before I share my screen, let me drop my meeting link in here in case you have to leave early, in case something happens. You get as much time with me as you want. It's a 15-minute meeting link. So at the end of the day, book 15 minutes with me now, and then we'll use that time and we'll schedule as much more time as you want. But the meeting time is yours. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're just joining, turn your cameras on. We'll grab a picture. I'm going to get started in like one more minute. Tell us in the chat where you're calling in from. Tell us if this is your first. There are a lot of people here first time. So I love it. So Mariana's new repeat, Steve's repeat, Jorgelina is a repeat. My oldie but goodies are here. Hello, everybody. Okay, put your go on mute or I will mute you. There we go. And let's get ready to get started. All right, if everybody wants to turn their cameras on, then we'll grab a picture real quick. And then, let's see, I'll give them a minute. Minute. Okay, yes, thank you, Jen. Thank you. Hello, hello, good to see you here. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you. All right. Let's hold on 1 second. I know it's like, Kristin, come on. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, so bear with me. Who is ready to get started? Okay, if you are new here, what we do is we go on mute, we put all the comments in the chat. I'd like to engage with you guys, and I'm doing something different this time, and you're gonna see, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, which is like a crazy thing for me to do in these master classes, but you're gonna love it. Okay, thumbs up, you can see the screen and not yourselves, right? You see the screen? Okay, thank you, Satu. All right, cool. So the theme for today is like, make meetings count, and or the fortune is in the follow-up, and also like, listen, ninja strategies. We are all about the ninja strategies here. So like, what are the ninja strategies to making sure that when we're in a meeting, no matter, tell us in the chat if you're in sales, if you're in project management, what role, program management, operations, are you sales or operations, so that I kind of know how to address the people who showed up and like we can make this more meaningful. but like, yeah, we want to make sure that we're never leaving a meeting without another meeting. That's like the number one ninja tip I have for you today. So if like nothing else, if you have to leave early, like write that down. Never leave a meeting without scheduling another meeting. And that was kind of like the whole basis for this training is I was coaching one of my clients, which is what I love to do. And we were talking about next steps and how they were so ambiguous. I realized if she could benefit from some of this advice, I thought everybody else might benefit from it too. Okay, so we simply have like 2 core concepts for the next hour, and I'm going to give it all away, right? So I'm here for you. And let's get started if that's okay. So, like at the end of the day, you have to follow up already. Let me just make sure everybody's on. Who here has, who is it? Carlos, I'm putting you on mute. Okay. Who here has, hang on. Okay. I got it. Mute all. Who here has projects that they've quoted in the past? So this works whether you're in project management or sales or operations. Who here has projects you've quoted that died, right? Like the client said, Steve, this works in your recruiting industry too, right? Like the client said, nope, I'm no longer interested. Nope, we lost our budget. Or they said like, nope, there isn't a need for you anymore. Or so much time went past and like the client ghosted you, right? We all have clients like that. I want you to actually take a step back and think about what you're sitting on right now that might actually benefit from follow-up. Because like, at the end of the day, one of the core things, somebody I was talking to this morning, right? The fortune is in the follow-up. Like if we can simply learn that it takes 10 to 12 touches for people, clients, prospects to respond to us, specifically in the localization industry. Now, I know there's a couple people here that are outside our industry. I love it. Thank you for showing up. It's also true. We are being bombarded by notifications. Who has their cell phone on? Who has LinkedIn messages happening? Who has your email popping up? Slack, WhatsApp, text, all of the things. Yes, we're constantly bombarded. Sometimes people's watch accidentally opens a message and then like they truly forget to respond. So sometimes people are ignoring you, let's be honest. And other times people are seeing the message and then they like forgot about it, or at least I do because I have mom brain, right? So the point is like, you have to I want you to create a list. So the first action item for you today is like, write a list and write these things down and you'll get the deck, but like make it meaningful for you. Like, what are the things in your wheelhouse that you could be following up on? Because the other thing is like, do you have a CRM? And if your operations, are you using the CRM? Because a lot of operational teams don't have access to the CRM, yet a lot of operations teams are being asked to do the follow-up, right? So I see there's like half of us at least here are in sales. So like, are you using, let's be honest, maybe I should do a poll, but like, let's be honest, are you using your CRM to track follow-up? Yes or no? Yeah. Gotta figure out who I need to mute. Okay, yes or no? Let me see. Are you using you guys chat? No, yep, no, yep, right. This is only good if like I can like, yes. Listen, I am a salesperson, 20 years in this industry, and I don't use the CRM to the best of its ability. People know that about me, right? But like I coach on how organizations can instill best practices and how you can use things depending on your platform. Is it HubSpot? What CRM are you using? Let's share that in the chat. But like in HubSpot, for example, they're called tasks. The thing is, if you're creating a task for every follow-up, you all of a sudden have death by tasks. You're constantly using tasks as an excuse to like, oh, I have something else to do today. And now you're focusing on your tasks or all these other things. The fire showed up or a project got, wrongly delivered and you have to fix something. And now you have to like go back and actually adjust. You have a stack of tasks you haven't done. So like, I want you to write down like, what are the things that you could be doing in terms of follow-up? Like, where are the latent Do you guys see any? All right, cool. Okay, so if you have tasks, if you have canceled, pending, expired estimates, take a look. Yesterday, I was coaching one of my clients in a workshop, and they had 20 estimates that needed to be followed up on, or that had been expired, or that had been canceled. 20 is not a lot, so they took an action item to follow up on that. At my old company, United Language Group, we'd have thousands of estimates, right? And so, like, think about what you have, and then think about where you can make a meaningful impact. So we're going to talk about like some strategies to follow up, because what is your revenue right now? Like, what is your personal revenue goals? Like, I always carried multiple $1 million of quota assignment, right? Whether I was an individual contributor and my quota was $1 to $5 million, or whether I led a team and the quota was like $15 to $20 million, right? And I grew into those stages, but I managed reps who would have a $500,000 quota. I talk to clients now who are only $500,000 in revenue. So this isn't like a comparison or a contrast. It's like, do you realize that there are millions of dollars on the table? Millions of dollars. Like, what is your niche? Write down on this piece of paper, what is your niche, right? So if you're a program manager, you're probably assigned a niche, right? Like, hey, you're really good at e-learning, or you're really good at this. So like, that's your niche. If you're a salesperson, you probably have a territory. So like, what is your niche? If you're a CEO of a company, you know what you're really, really good at, right? One of my clients came to me and said, we're going to start chasing a bunch of things. And I said, once I learned a little bit more about their business, I said, actually, you're in a niche that's really hard to execute on, and you've proven year after year after year that you can do it. Do you know that there are millions of dollars? Lionbridge has clients that spend $80+ million a year with just them. Like, do you know that, right? Like $80 million a year just with Lionbridge. They have multiple vendors, right? And you're probably getting like $20,000 worth of work for them. Or like, that's how it was for me, right? Like, if depending on where I worked, and even when I worked at Lionbridge, like, we were constantly trying to win business over from other LSPs. And it's like, what is the total addressable market? What's the TAM? What's like the actual average spend that the client has? Is it centralized? Is it decentralized? Are you asking your current clients for referrals to new business lines? Like, where is their opportunity? So even if you've got these old and expired quotes, because we all have them, when is the last time you revisited them? And can you leverage revisiting them while maintaining being human? Who here now uses ChatGPT? Yeah? Okay. In this exercise, I would say, oh my gosh, don't use it. Don't use it. Don't use it in this exercise. And I love ChatGPT. I did a whole masterclass on it. If you want to see it, Steve was there. He loved it. Jorgelina was there. A lot of these people were there. They loved it, right? But like, don't use ChatGPT or AI to be human in this case. Just reach out. Just reach out to the people and say, hey, how are you? How was your summer? There are parts of the year where there are generic messages that make you human that you can send. Right now, everyone is going back to school. Whether you have kids or not, we are all back to school. How was your summer? Did you go on holiday? How is back to school? If you know they have kids, right? Or whatever. Coming up, it's like, if you have US clients, it's Happy Thanksgiving, right? If you have clients in other countries, it's recognizing those holidays. Same. If their budget year is calendar year, because not every organization has a calendar year budget, but like, it's still, do you know what their budget year is? Because one of my Midwest manufacturing behemoths of a client, like, they spent $2.5 million just with me. Their budget year ended in August, and I knew that. And so we did a huge push every August to get the spend in their budgets. Use it or lose it is what their budgets always are, right? So like, find out when their budget season is, if you can. And if you don't know, October, November is a really good time to start saying, hey, do you have extra budget? Do your colleagues have extra budget that we could leverage? This is what I mean by like, the fortune is in the follow-up. So again, there's two parts to this meeting. It's like, make meetings count, and the fortune is in the follow-up. I want to make sure that you guys leave here today with like an aha moment, with like a list of like, how can I reach out to my old prospects, to my current clients, to the people who said they were going to buy and now is not a good time, or they were going to buy, but then they lost their budget. Maybe they got their budget back, right? Maybe their colleague took over their role. So it's a really good chance. Like, you should be sending me emails after this saying, I reached out to 300 people. That starts to build momentum for your business, and that will build long-term revenue. So when in doubt, this is the crazy part, you guys. I'm about to do something I've never done, and this seems to be a little bit of a quiet group. So I hedged my bets, and so I'll take care of it if we're actually a little too quiet. But I would encourage you right now. I'm going to ask you a question, because like the thing is, when in doubt, give, right? So like, give before you get. What I want to do is whiteboard some ideas, because this listen, I have a whole bunch of ideas I've pre-written, I promise. But who wants to say in the chat? I'd say go off mute, but I know we're having a few problems, but like, go off mute, let's try it, right? If your client or prospect isn't following up, and the whole idea is like, give before you get, stop trying to sell, no matter what your role is, right? Like sales, I get it. I'm a salesperson for 20 years. My mom's a salesperson. My dad's a salesperson. My sister's an attorney, which basically means she's a salesperson. My other sister's like, I don't like salespeople. Yet she found something that she loved, which was hearing aids. And she is selling, but she feels very meaningfully attached to the outcomes of putting hearing aids on people and letting them hear, that now she doesn't think that she's selling. But there's like, so sales is in my blood, right? But at the end of the day, depending on who you are and where you come from and what role you have, it might feel still a little icky. What I love to do is coach companies, coach LSPs on how to inspire their project management teams, their operation teams, and their sales teams on building up the confidence. And like, it's not always about selling. Sometimes it's about, well, it should always be about bridging the gap. People buy from people what they know, like, and trust, right? Giving before you get, and really, truly, like, you know, enterprise sales reps, how do you go off and sell a $3 million program, $50 million program? Like, there has to be real, tangible business, client-driven business objectives that they're trying to achieve by spending pennies, which add up to millions of dollars, on this thing called localization services. Like, they really have to have a business need, and you have to be able to identify what those business needs are before you just start shoving a bunch of content or ideas or pricing or, you know, us down their throats. Like, I start all of my presentations all about them, and it used to make my CEO and my marketing team mad, because I would use, instead of using our client or like our branded images, I used the client images in my decks to make them feel a certain way when they saw the presentation. I never started with about us, ever. And I learned this through, like, Lionbridge spent a lot of money when I was there for 6 years on various sales training, right? So I've been trained by a lot of different methodologies, and ultimately you kind of take from it what works for you based on the type of thing that you're selling or where you work. And I just want you to know that, like, in our industry, because everyone is being bombarded, everybody wants to work with Anna Schlegel and Bridget O'Brien and Edith Bendermacher and like the tech leaders that are in women in localization, right? They're being bombarded by business. Do you want to know something? Who here knows Carrie Fisher, Women in Localization? Anybody? Yeah, yes. Okay, so do you know why she's in Women in Localization right now? Because 4 years ago, I joined ULG and I was an account manager, and they say, here's Subway. Well, they're not doing any business with us, but here's one of your accounts, Subway. I'm like, oh, gee, thanks, right? I reached out to Carrie on LinkedIn and I said, hey, Carrie, do you know about Women in Localization? I have a program leadership role in the organization. So like, if you're not involved, get involved, right? And I just wanted to talk to you about maybe coming to the organization to fill a role. She was like, oh my gosh, I was involved in its infancy days when I used to live in Silicon Valley. It's so awesome to see how they've evolved over the years. Yes, I would love to talk to you. So sure enough, I built the trust. I used that as an in, right? And we had a conversation. I did tell her in that conversation, honestly and transparently, listen, ULG is your vendor, but we're not getting any work from you. What do you have? She started telling me all these things that she has. It's really complicated that are tethered to other vendors. Over the course of weeks, I earned her trust. Weeks, guys, not days, not hours, weeks. I earned her trust by showing up, by plugging her into women in localization, and by honestly and transparently saying, like, I also have this other thing I'm trying to get from you. That's fair, right? Like, I'm being honest about it. And ultimately it resulted in $1.5 million of business. Like, no joke. No joke. The end of that story is I went on maternity leave. Somebody stole the work from me. And then I was able to keep like several $100,000. But Carrie is now president of Women in Localization and is on record saying, like, Kristin is the reason I got back involved, right? So like, you're using these things in our industry, what you know about your clients, what you know about your niches, to give before you get. So I'm giving you that as a teaser. Who wants to be so bold? Come, does this make sense? Come off mute or comment in the chat. And if, listen, I would love if this could be a really awesome dialogue. I do this a lot with my clients, but anybody want to share like an idea you might have for like how to give before you get? Because otherwise I'll just keep rambling and that's good by me. Anybody, how can we give our clients before we get? Leah, welcome. Anybody, any ideas in the chat? If there are no ideas, I'm really glad you're here because I have a lot of them. Consulting. Yes, my friend. Yes. Oh, that was a direct message. But yes, consulting. Yes, you could offer some sort of consulting to them. Oh, I'm going to mute you again, Mariana. Mariana, you put in the chat because you keep your. All right, listen. I'll move because I don't want to make you look at this, you guys. I'll reshare in this. Look at this. Look at this. So like this, I'm going to spend a lot of time here. Everyone in our industry, and listen, no matter what you're selling, right, Kara, like it doesn't matter. Everyone kind of defaults to like price, quality, and turnaround time, right? Who here has the best price? Anybody? Who here has the best turnaround time? Anybody? Quality? Oh yeah, good, Steve. I love it. Right. Yeah. So Steve's the guy to beat. Satu's the woman to beat. Yes. But listen, from 20 years calling in the industry, from partnering with my marketing colleagues to doing listening exercises with some of our core clients. Do you know what they say is that if you're a vendor, you should be delivering on price, quality, and turnaround time. How else do you differentiate? Because like how you give before you get is by simply giving concepts, ideas, your differentiators. You have to be different. You, the salesperson, the project manager, the operational program manager, if you're in a direct role or a supporting role, if you're a marketer, you have to be different because otherwise we're all the same and it's same, and it will be a drive to the bottom. As a salesperson, you want to know my ninja strategy? First of all, I love internal relationships, like building like cross-functional relationships with my colleagues in operations or with marketing or in finance or billing. That is my jam because without them, it doesn't go anywhere, right? I can sell, but can we deliver? And I say we, right? Because, and listen, I never sell alone. And we have that in the next slide, but like, can we deliver and can we actually do what we've promised the clients? And the only way we can do that is by asking a ton of questions and really going in deep, whether it's like a $3,000 project or a 30,000 or a 300,000, like you have to ask the right questions in order to give the right solution. But if we're in this stage of they ghosted me, or we're just starting to talk to them and we know it's competitive, or we're trying to over-establish our value, the last thing we can do is sell on price, quality, or turnaround time. Not only that, but like, I don't know about you guys, who here, raise your hand if you like to look good to the business, right? So like, even my company that fired me on April 17th and allowed me to now live this wonderful life, I still I cared about their profitability. I tried to like drive up price when and where I could, because I sold on value. And by being a salesperson who was out, and a leader who was outspoken about selling on value and about raising the price, that meant I had grace when I had to go to somebody and say, we need to lower the price, because sometimes you have to lower the price. So I'm not saying like we're going to charge 45 cents a word and everyone else is charging 11. Like, I don't really think that works, right? But like, you have to be seen internally, no matter your role, especially if you're leading a team, as somebody who cares about the company's bottom line and who actually is trying to make this a win-win, give the client what they need and help our business grow profitably without spinning our wheels and like driving ourselves crazy, right? Because we all have clients like that, don't we? So here are some things, and put in the chat like what you want me to explain a little bit more, because I put some things in bold to go deeper into. I actually already gave you the women in localization example, but like, men can join, anybody can join, right? No matter whatever. So go to womeninlocalization.com/member. Maybe Jorgelina or somebody put the link in the chat so that everybody here can sign up to be a member. And there's lots of opportunities to get involved, whether it's at a local chapter or at an online event or at the program level. Okay. I just really encourage it, because you will meet a lot of clients and prospects and friends. So the other things I bolded, now that I'm like taking a step back and looking at them, they're basically all the same thing, but it's said a little bit different, right? But one thing you can give a client is a call with one of your subject matter experts. Thank you, Dolores. One of your subject matter experts. So internally, right? You're a PM, you're a salesperson, but you've got really smart people at your company, and maybe they're client facing and maybe they're not, right? But everybody, even at the $100 million behemoths, even at Trends Perfect, right? Everybody is client facing. So figure out what your client needs or what they want, right? Maybe your client is like a total geek when it comes to like tech and automation, and like, maybe they really love the nuts and bolts. Maybe like they're quote, just managing the localization program, but like their love language is like nuts and bolts of like technology. Find that out by asking the question and offer to introduce them to somebody in your team. That's one way to do it. That's like, you're just building a bridge of trust, because the bigger the program you're trying to win, the longer it is going to take to win them over, right? So like, you have to do things throughout this engagement that are going to keep your clients or your prospects like interested in you, and not just the annoying sales or project manager person who's like, okay, well, they're just following up just to follow up. Because like, happy Thanksgiving gets kind of old pretty quick, right? And like, you can only say it so many times. Like, you have to have these things, these really great ideas to offer. So again, put your LinkedIn URL in the chat so that everybody here can connect. Like, if you're not connecting to your clients or prospects on LinkedIn, you're missing a huge opportunity, right? So one of the ideas here is like, connect with them on LinkedIn. And my ninja tip that you've all heard before is like, I'd be honored to connect. If you can, add a note when you connect to say, I'd be honored to connect. And then don't sell them. People here know, don't sell them in the DM, right? If you want to know how to act in the DM, you message me after and we have a whole masterclass on that, or I can come and coach your organization. But like, use the connection requests to connect as humans with the people that you're working with translators in our industry, with your prospects, with your clients, and see if your superstar clients, your really big champions, will write you recommendations on LinkedIn, Okay. See if somebody from your core client can write you a recommendation on LinkedIn. You got to ask for that. That's not what this is kind of all about, but like, it's a really, really good strategy. One of the things that I love to do is we did this really well. So if you're from operations, like bear with me. Again, if you want to have a call with me, we'll have a call, right? But like one thing that works like a ninja when you've got a client, especially in a multi-vendor competitive situation, is to say, let's look at let's look at our linguistic team choices. Let's set up a vendor selection process. Okay. Think of it as like a vendor selection process. Obviously, it's funny right now in the moment, I don't know what the words were, but like what you do is you get their content, you get a piece of their content, and you basically do a sample translation. Now, you can Google Lionbridge, why sample translations break all the rules. I'm 99% sure that blog post still exists because I was there so long. We use that all the time. We all who here hates a good sample translation, right? Because they don't work unless you control the narrative. All this is controlling the narrative. So by asking for content, if they're like, we don't really know what to do, which is where I'm going next, like how to make meetings count. But if you don't really know what to do and you're trying to keep the client engaged, suggest looking at their content and doing sample translations, not with one team, but with 2 or 3. This is super ninja. I get the cost on the back end. I get it. You're going to have to make up that profitability somehow because I've never personally charged for this. So this isn't one sample translation. It's basically 3, but we did this so often that the operations team must have figured out how to like just roll it into the margin, like for their whole program, like kind of a thing. But new clients, we used to do this all the time. So now you're buying the client in to you as a salesperson, you as a team, your operational counterpart is probably on the call. You need to have permission in order to do this, right? But like at the end of the day, you're buying the client in. And you're saying, I'm going to give you 3 options. A linguistic selection process is what we called it. I'm going to give you 3 options of translations. And we're going to look at your glossary if you have one. And we're going to like take into consideration. And in advance of you needing this work, because like, they're like, oh yeah, great. I need you in 3 months from now. Call me back then. What? Don't go 3 months without calling the client back, because what's going to happen? Somebody here knows. If they say, I need a proposal in a week, they actually meant yesterday because they've already moved on to somebody else, right? So do not let Leah, I'm so sorry, right? It happens. Yes, someone else will get the business. Look at you guys. Just took a half hour for us to warm up. I love it. So use the linguistic selection process. Use the idea of like floating 3 sample translations in front of them to pick the vendor on the back end that they're going to use. This is ninja. If I'm not explaining it right now, like let's set up a call. I'll talk you through how it can work for your business. It is ninja. It kind of goes into the free pilot. Anybody here ever hear me present my innovation framework? Yes or no? It's out on the web. I'm more than happy. Like I was going to pile it into here. I just felt like it was too much. But there was this innovation framework. I actually won a Stevie Award for thought leadership in complex sales for it this year, because what it does, this is for people who might still be here who are in other industries. You lead the client down a path. I'm not selling anything different than Mariana's selling, but I'm controlling the sale. I'm controlling the client. I'm controlling the process. I'm coming up with things like a linguistic selection process in the middle of our engagement, and I'm taking the client down the path. So this works for anything in our industry, especially machine translation, especially like, trans creation, but even just plain old translate, edit, proofreading kind of deliverables, driving a client down a path using a series of steps and showing them using the framework, which is like 2 slides, right? The framework is 2 slides, and you simply say, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen next, and this is what's going to happen next. And you get buy-in from them, and they bring their colleagues. So you're not selling to one person, because it's not usually one person that makes all these decisions, right? And you're having a series of meetings. So it really works. But, if all else fails, right? Who's traveling to see clients anymore? I'll never forget, like 2008, I'd like living in Chicago. I would hop on a plane. I would go somewhere for a week. I would like drive around to different cities, like in Kansas or Missouri, and like go see different clients and prospects and like have lunch with them, right? So like maybe you could send them lunch. Maybe you could send them a gift card, right? Like Grove Cookie Company. Somebody has to shout out to Grove Cookie Company that I shouted them out in this masterclass. This guy, Grayson, who owns this company, he now syndicates his cookies. It's a mom and pop cookie shop in Oregon. They are delicious cookies, and they have taken the internet by storm, taken LinkedIn by storm. So look them up, right? Yeah, it's $12 to send a box of cookies of them. So it's not as cheap as a bag of Oreos, but like same, right? Like do something that's a little different. One of my clients, and she was already a client, but like, do you guys send Christmas gifts anymore, or like holiday gifts? Again, it's like, is the client an existing client and you want new business from them, you want referrals from them, or are you trying to just win clients over for the first time? Because everyone here wears a different hat. But like, send them oh, it's back. I can't reach it. But like Anna Schlegel wrote a book called Truly Global. And I know Natalie Kelly's coming out with another book right now about global business. The people that you're selling to, they need to know about this. Do you know how many of your clients don't know about Loc World? Like, don't know about our industry conferences. So one of the ideas, like, are you going to Loc World? Are you going to conferences in your industry, right? So like, you don't have to pay money per se to like sending them cookies or buying them lunch, but it's like, how do we be human? How do you just ask them what's happening in their life? How do you say like, hey, what conferences are you going to? Can you Google them? Do they speak at conferences? One of my clients who spends millions of dollars literally had no idea that women in localization existed, and she didn't know Loc World existed. And it's relevant because as a manufacturing company, companies like that are in women in localization, and they're at Loc World. And I'm giving her proximity, right? Like, listen, we're all selling the same thing. It's okay to know that your clients are like in a network where other vendors are. That's how you stay human. That's how you know, like, you're going to buy from me because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And I'm building a bridge of trust with you, but I'm not ignoring the fact that RWS is also in this market, and or Intento is also in this market and selling the same thing. Okay. So I hope that was helpful. I'll move on. Okay. So now it's like what not to do. I wrote it this way so that we could pivot to the next slide, which is like what to do, right? So many times you're either new to selling, you're not confident as a project manager, like you feel like the salesperson should be doing the thing, you're just in a lazy season. Like, listen, I've been through all the seasons as a 20-year veteran in this industry, but like, when you leave next steps in a meeting to chance is when things fall apart. Make sure you have concrete, non-vague, very specific next steps, which means being conscious of the time to know that, like, I need to wrap this. If this is an hour-long call, you need 10 minutes to wrap that call up. If it's a 30-minute call, you need 5, right? So it's kind of like, make sure you leave time, and make sure you say time check. Make sure you do that thing that's kind of funny and annoying, but like, you're like, I'm just checking the time. I know we have X minutes left. Are you okay? Are you okay to run over? If they are not okay to run over, you're going to need to wrap up now, no matter how many more slides you wanted to present all about you. Like, you have to be conscious of the client's time so that you can properly address the action items that you've agreed on, right? And so I want you, it's like, the reason it says like crossed out, like don't ask the clients what they think, is because you should be controlling the narrative of the sale. You're asking them what they need, but you got to give them what they want, right? And like, they're going to say, I need cheaper translations, but you need to ask more questions in order to figure out what their real pain is and how you as a provider can help them. Because maybe it is a machine translation solution that their current vendor isn't talking to them about. Every single one of my clients, and there are several of them here, know that if we are not talking machine translation, somebody else is. Your clients are being bombarded by other sales reps, and a lot of them aren't good, but it doesn't matter. Right time, right place. Somebody emailed me, I needed translation services. I sent it off to the first email at the top of my inbox. You have to be human. So when you're in these meetings, this is like the whole, now we're into like make meetings count, right? When you're in these meetings, make sure you're not saying, yeah, we can do machine translation, and then not knowing how you as a company actually do machine translation. One of the accounts I inherited at my last gig, unfortunately for me, my friend who was the sales rep I inherited it from didn't know how to sell machine translation, and he was just dragging his feet, and the client was getting mad. And I came in because I happen to be a subject matter expert and say, here is how we can actually make your life easier, Mr. Client, by giving you what you're asking for and by rolling it out in a framework, right? I don't say to my clients, oh, I've got this innovation framework. I just say I've got a framework, right? Here's my framework for rolling out machine translation, for testing it on all your languages, for all of your content type, for doing the curation of the languages, depending on if we have your translation memories, depending on what the language is, and we let the results speak for themselves. So this works extremely well if you as a company do have, which we did have, like data scientists and machine translation technologists in the background, right? They were in Spain for us. But even if you have a third party, maybe you partner with a company like Intento, right? To give you the machine translation, ask them, okay? Because this strategy for testing machine translation and then curating the engines and then testing it again with the client's content is ninja. And you're giving them like a red, yellow, green feedback, not on what you think the content is, on what like the contextual, like linguistic feedback of the output from the machine. And you're letting the client make their own decisions. So often I have sat in client meetings, gotten really excited about the solution we're going to provide them. And then behind the scenes, operations says, nope, can't do it. Nope, that content's not right for machine translation. We've never emptied e-learning. It's not going to work. The thing is, if we aren't talking to our clients about something like that, other vendors are. So just because we've never seen it work, why don't we take them down the path, show them what MT looks like with their content, do a curated machine, do an MTPE, do an MTTE. Okay, you can message me that for like that strategy and see what the outcomes are and let the client make the decisions. So that's kind of like you want to know what they think and you want to lead them down a path, but you want to empower them to make their own decisions so that you're not overpromising. You're not saying RMT is the best. You're saying, let's let the data speak for itself. Hook, line, and sinker. We want a client doing that. And this client doesn't use anybody but a local consultant in the industry for years. So like it really, really works. And never ever leave a meeting without another meeting scheduled. Why? Because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. I hate to say it. It's a little bit of a strategy game of chess, right? So like this concludes kind of a lot of the things that we've talked about, and it's perfect timing, right? So you have to outsmart your competition, right? It's kind of like mentioning all these things that we've talked about today. There needs to be clear action items. You are allowed, so like you have my permission to assign the client action items. It can simply be send us your files, send us your TMs. But if it's vague without a reason, send us your TMs, because we'll do a free analysis on them. You're saying you don't know if your translation quality output is good and you don't have any in-country reviewers. Let us, as part of our commitment to wanting to work with you, let us do a free assessment of the machine or of the translation memory. Let us assess what it looks like. We'll put a third-party team on it. We'll give you the outcomes. We'll tell you what the opinion is. And so that you can then assess whether you want to use the translation memories or start from scratch, for example, right? Or give us your files, because as a result of this, we're going to take you down a path and do a linguistic selection process. So you've already explained what that means. They're going to get 3 sample translations back from you, and they're going to select which linguistic sample they want to work with, so that we're making sure we're putting on translators who adapt to your voice, tone, and style. You don't have a glossary, but you have tons of documentation, or you've got marketing content, or you're doing a rebrand, whatever the situation is. Let us start, and you're telling me you don't have a project for me for 3 months. Let us build a glossary now. No, it doesn't take 3 months to build, Mr. Customer, but let us work through a proper glossary. We'll take your English, we'll put it in a simple Excel spreadsheet, we'll break it down how many languages you want, and we'll give you the translated glossary terms back, so that you can work ahead of time to establishing your in-country reviewers, and you can look at like, what makes the most sense for your business? Desk versus table, couch versus sofa. Yes, this is the elementary way. 20 years later, I still explain translation memory, but they mean the same. A couch is a sofa. Yes. But like a client is going to they're going to care what term they want to use. So let's get those terms lined up as preference number 1, preference number 2 in a glossary. And so that when you're ready to go, we're ready to go. Thanks, Jen. Oh, oops. Okay. So like sometimes in these meetings, like you need to be tactical, right? It's being strategic is sometimes about being tactical. So what I mean by that is kind of some of these things we've said, like give and get, make sure there's constantly an exchange. And if anything else, if you're like, oh my gosh, I have 10 minutes left in the meeting, I've said all the things, I've asked all the questions, the next step you do is you ask for the next call. So even if you're Steve or people out here who aren't physically selling the translation services, right? You're doing something else. Ask for the next call. Put it on their calendar now. Let's pull up our calendar and schedule something. It can always be moved, right? But at least you have something to work toward. And then make sure as part of that, you're doing something. Are you, any of these things are things that you can do in order to make your meetings count, so that the client starts to feel tethered to you, like obligated to you, like interested in working with you. Keep things moving, right? Be the one that sends really, really great meeting notes following the calls, have clear action items, know that you have permission to assign your client specific action items that are going to move this thing forward, and never, never, never sell alone. We should always be bringing our counterparts from operations or our other technical subject matter experts into the meetings, introducing them to the client, having meetings ahead of those meetings, making sure that, everybody on your internal team kind of knows their role in the call. People aren't talking over each other. There's a lead and they're supporting people. Are we building a deck? How is this thing going? Another thing, and then I'll wrap up, that I don't see a lot of mid to small LSPs doing is postmortems. Postmortems is an amazing opportunity, like a quarter. I really don't see quarterly business reviews unless you're at the big super agencies. Yearly or quarterly business reviews and project postmortems are a surefire way, especially if you've just won a $20,000 project, let's say. Do a postmortem after it and tell them you're going to do a postmortem so that it doesn't feel icky, and use the postmortem as an opportunity to talk about what could have gone better. And you actually have to fall on your sword a little and say, okay, these things we could have done better. We delivered a language a day late. Like, we know it wasn't an impact to your business and we apologize for it, but like, that's something that could have gone better. We understand that there was significant subjective feedback on the translations, right? that means we could have set up the glossary better. We should have had a conversation with the ICRs before we started executing on the project. So really think about where you could make things better. And then by all means, use that postmortem to talk about all of the awesome things and ask for more business. The other thing, one of my, where I worked, one of the things we did weekly status calls with some of our clients. If they're spending, $1 million plus, like, or not even that, right? If they're, depending on what they're spending, depending on what it means for you, I guess, as a company, have like weekly 15-minute status calls with your clients to check in. But that's very tactical, right? Like I'm saying, like, pull yourself out of the weeds and think about it long term. When is the last time you did like a yearly business review for your customer? That's an excellent opportunity to follow up. If somebody bought from you for 5 years in a row and now they've just kind of gone silent and you're like, hello, hi, remember us, right? They're probably giving their money. If they're still global, they're probably giving their money to somebody else. So use it as an opportunity to say, like, hey, it's been a while. Maybe we can do a year-end business review. And no, you don't have to do all of those in December. You can do it right now. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Are there any questions? Yes, Brian. Postmortems. Yes, all of it. Are there any questions? Was this great? I will send the recording. Jen, I love Loc World. Yes. Now I'm curious, are you going this year? Let me know. I will be there. What else? What else? I saw a lot of head nodding. I know. Oh, you'll be in Portugal. Oh, darn. That's on Leah. Was it helpful? Yes. Yes. Yes, Leah inspired this whole masterclass. So thank you. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for that, everybody. Thank you for that. But we can wrap up. I'll give you 9 minutes back in your day. I will send the recording. I will send the slides. And I guess I'm not sharing. If you do want time with me, go ahead and use this link and we'll set up 15 minutes, or you can just email me or find me on LinkedIn. Thank you for providing all of your LinkedIn URLs in the chat. I hope you can connect with other people. We will, I'll be doing some things on imposter syndrome coming up in the next week or two. So if you've got imposter syndrome like I do, take a look be on the lookout for that. And I think that is it. My friend Brian here, he's doing a masterclass next week. So make sure you connect with him and check it out. I know it's all about mindset. Yes, Joyce, we do all. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye. See you later.
Kristin.